Hi, this is Mark Kermode. Thanks for downloading this Kermode on Film podcast.
Hello, I'm Jack Howard, and if you're watching on YouTube, hello, nice to see you. If you're listening to this, hello, thanks for hearing our voices.
Yes, this is because Jack is now part of the core team. We've added a visual element.
Yes.
That's a camera, is it, Jack?
Well, we're filming it on a phone, but okay. If it's good enough for Danny Boyle, it's good enough for us.
So with this introduction we're recording actually just at the end of the session we've just done. In this episode, you're going to hear what actually turned out to be the first half of our discussion. We set ourselves a task, which was...
We're going to rank all the Mission Impossible movies, worst to best. We're going to do a countdown. And it's going to be from the perspective of Mark Kermode, the critic, and Jack Howard, the filmmaker.
Speaking as a filmmaker.
Which is going to be a running joke that I'm going to regret.
Yeah.
I say it too often.
And we had intended that this would be one half an hour episode. Plot spoiler, it isn't.
Dun, 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 dun.
And what's interesting about that time signature?
Oh, actually, I don't know.
Well, it's 5.
Okay.
The whole point about that thing is it's 5. Dun 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's a version of it, some of the rock versions of it straighten it out to 4/4, which is really annoying, but it's...
Is that the Limp Bizkit version? Do you remember that Limp Bizkit did a version of a Mission Impossible film?
I don't.
They did number 2.
Did they? Okay,
yeah.
fine. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Limp Bizkit did the theme for this.
Okay.
Because Mission Impossible 2, I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but is definitely the ugly duckling.
Yeah.
Why is that? Sorry, why have you pointed out that's an interesting...
Okay, because so the whole thing about time signatures, right? A 5/4 time signature is an unsettling time signature. So if you think about it, most time signatures are 2, 4, so 1, 2, all three, like 3. 1, 2, 3 is a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 2-step is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1,
right,
2.
okay.
A standard, like a rock and roll song, would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is an awkward time signature. So the most famous example of a 5/4 time signature is Take 5. Dun dun dun. dun.
Now you're just doing Mission Impossible.
That's in 5/4, okay?
Gotcha.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Well, the Mission Impossible time signature is 5. It's not 4, and so it's dun 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 dun. So it's just slightly edgy, and it's one of those really weird things that if the natural thing is to think in 2s and 4s, and the slightly unnatural thing is to think in 5s and 7s. So 7, 8 is a... I mean, whether or not you... 1, 2, 3, 4...
You're right. I want you to know that you're talking to a music novice. Like, I can't keep time at all. Like,
no, okay, but if you think about it, right, really sort of simple. So like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
A waltz is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 4/4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5/4 is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Listeners,
5,
I'd just
1,
like
2.
to apologise for the first part of this podcast just being Mark Kermode counting to you.
No, but I'm sorry because I know I've literally just finished writing this book about film music. But 5/4, 7, 8, because Tubular Bells is completely wrong. It's got it's like a 15/8 time signature. It goes dun 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 dun, and it's wrong, and
that's why it feels unsettling to listen to.
Well, arguably, there is actually an interview with Mike Oldfield in which he says, yes, it's that little missing widget, that little missing beat that completely wrong foots you. And of course, the joy of it is you don't realise it's doing it. So with Mission Impossible, it's sort of slightly, it's a very urgent, because it's Lalo Schifrin, it's a very urgent theme, and one of the reasons is that the time signature is not what you'd expect it to be.
I think it's very interesting that the music has evolved so well with the way that film music has evolved.
Yeah.
So like going from it was a 60s television show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From that to what obviously was the original 90s Danny Elfman version to now what Lorne Balfe has kind of turned it into, which is this kind of like bold Hans Zimmer horns led, like obviously in Mission Impossible Fallout there's an entire like Dark Knight-esque sequence where he kind of strips away the elements of the music and sort of brings them in one at a time to sort of build tension. And I think it's amazing that a piece of music like that can be so resilient.
Yes, and it could be. Yeah, you can use it in any different way. And in fact, Lorne Balfe has said, the trick is to not make it sound nostalgic. The trick is to take something that you've been given and to use it as if it's a new thing. Just in case anyone's wondering, because we jumped right in the middle of that. Hello, I'm Mark. This is
I'm Jack. We're talking about the Mission Impossible movies today.
Yes.
I thought we'd start by ranking the Mission Impossible movies.
Start by me explaining 5 full-time signatures.
That's not how I thought we'd start, but here we are. Do you have your least favourite to favourite Mission Impossible? What's your ranking of the Mission Impossible films?
I mean, so when we started talking about this, so you said, okay, we'll do them in a ranking. And usually I love a list, because I'm a Nick Hornby-ish kind of guy. But the problem for me, and I have done it because that was the assignment which I did choose to accept.
Good.
The problem is, it's like the ones down here, and then the ones up here.
Yeah.
And it's very much a kind of.
I also have my list is like depending on what day it is. Like most of them are like kind of neck and neck in terms of it's not a clear like this is the worst and this is the best. I mean, it's clearly what the worst is.
Yeah.
But like. In terms of like the top 4, they're kind of all middling around the same kind of place depending what day it is.
Yes, exactly. So shall we compare lists first?
Yes, I think so.
And then get. So shall we do like my number 8, your number 8?
I think you should just go. You go 8 to 1, and then I'll give you my 8 to 1, and we'll discuss.
All right. So my feeling is. I think the worst one, although I'm not alone in this, I think Mission Impossible 2 is the one that the wheels came off.
Yes.
Because it's just, and I mean I like John Woo, it's the bad hair film. It's just I struggle to remember much about it other than that it exists. I completely
agree. Yeah, the thing that I can remember about it is that it starts with him on a cliff. And in this kind of impossible like moment of him like jumping between rocks, and I remember seeing it on TV when I was a kid and going that looks stupid.
Exactly,
and that was supposed to be for me. Yeah, it's just... And as I've mentioned already, Limp Bizkit then do it's the mission should you choose to accept it in the sunglasses,
right? Okay.
And then throwing them away as they explode in slow motion before Limp Bizkit goes bum 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 bum. It's I mean, I'll just do spoilers now. Like my number 8 is also Mission Impossible 2. Fine. It's the Ugly Duckling.
Okay, so I think this is the way we'll do it.
Okay,
this does make more sense. So, yes. Number 7, and this is probably slightly out of whack with what most people think. I think the first Mission Impossible.
Yes! I can't believe that we're in agreement on this. I was so expecting Mission Impossible 1 to be so far up your list.
I never. Here's the thing with the first Mission Impossible, because I remember seeing it when it first came out. So this was
1996.
So the best part of 30 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, I mean I was 4 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So
thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's all right.
So the thing about the first Mission Impossible, when people remember it being brilliant, my feeling is that what they're remembering is the drop of sweat, the hangy.
They remember that sequence,
the heist sequence. So
which is still brilliant.
It's still great. And when we did Secrets of Cinema, we did which is this television program. I said we because it was me and Kim Newman. And
it was very good.
Thank you. I was just trying to tee that up until it finally was. A little
Go and watch it. It's still available, probably.
Anyway, when we did that, and we did a whole thing about comparing that heist sequence with a sequence from Wallace and Gromit, from and then
Ocean's 11,
and like a whole bunch of other. So it was, and it's a really good sequence. It's a really, really good sequence. What else happened?
Exactly. There's a really, really bad train sequence at the end that visually has not aged well.
That makes with the leapy, jumpy, explodey bang thing, which is just completely. And am I wrong in remembering that driving the train is a famous British comedy actor?
You've said it, and it's almost a fog in my head of like I think you might be right about that, but I don't know who it is.
But other than that. What do you remember? I mean, I know it's a long time ago, but how long ago did you see it? Because you didn't see it 30 years ago. How long ago did you see it?
I think I was probably in my teens when I was kind of getting into films at the time and researching like, what haven't I seen? What should I see?
Right. So
I would have seen it around then. And I think most people will agree that, especially when you watch it when you're young, it does feel like it's aged more than some of the films from that era have.
Yeah,
you can watch it and kind of feel like it's a more mature adult sort of slow-paced thriller, but it's also like not that interesting of a story. It's like, his team all get killed, and he's betrayed and the guy he thinks is his friend isn't his friend. It's like, it's all the most... I've seen all these beats before.
I know.
And probably better. And actually better inside the Mission Impossible franchise.
And also,
so I'm totally in agreement with you.
But also the fact that it's Brian De Palma, because by that point, you think of Brian De Palma, if not quite as an auteur director, as somebody with a real Brian De Palma. And yes, you can see all of that in the heist sequence. Can't... like for the rest of it, okay. So that's weird because I thought that was the thing that
I honestly thought we were going to have a big disagreement about that. I was like prepared for that, but we'll talk more about that heist sequence in a little bit. I think on its own because I think it's worth going into a bit more about why it does work so well.
Well, in that case, I'm going to let you. I just did 8 and 7, so I'm going to let you do number 6.
Okay, number 6. I would say, again, I'm kind of reordering the list in real time, but I would probably put Mission Impossible 3 next.
There we go. Yeah. We have literally written the same list. And actually, weirdly enough, it's not bad at all.
It isn't. I think this is where it stops being like, there's not a lot to criticise from here on out, actually, in terms of,
it's J.J. Abrams, right?
Yes, and it's J.J. Abrams' first feature film. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, God, I'd forgotten that.
It's crazy to me that, just as a side about J.J. Abrams, he's only helmed one film that isn't a legacy sequel. He's done Mission Impossible 3, 2 Star Wars films, 2 Star Trek films, and Super 8.
Wow.
And I think he's currently making an original movie, currently in, I think, Glasgow or Edinburgh or something right now. He's shooting it. But he's only ever helmed big franchise sequels.
Well, I think he does a perfectly decent job with it. It
moves like a bullet.
Yes, it's got a decent sort of setup. The characters in it have sort of settled down. Mm-hmm. It's like everything's starting to make sense. It's fine. It's not a standout, but it's perfectly fine.
There is one standout thing in it.
There is, which is
Philip Seymour Hoffman. My word! Like, if you just show somebody the opening sequence of that film, they're going to be like, I want to know what happens. Because he's so intense and so terrifying and plays a villain that's kind of a mustache twirly villain, but with such, like, charisma. He's so brilliant.
If there is a problem, it is that he slightly unbalances the film, because every minute he's not on the screen, you are thinking... where's he?
There's a really amazing bit where Philip Seymour Hoffman is playing Tom Cruise because he's got a Philip Seymour Hoffman mask on, and it's such a great little moment where he's like got his mannerisms down perfectly.
Is that the first time we get the Scooby-Doo masks?
No, they're in the first one. It's in the first 5 minutes of the first film. Yeah, it's like the
yoinks.
Reggie, and I would have gotten away with it too. That's Mission Impossible is a little moment away from that, isn't it? I think as well. Like in Mission 3, it was the first one that I watched as a teenager before I'd seen 1. Actually,
right?
My friend recommended it to me. And
you didn't need any getting up to speed.
I think it kind of does a really good job of restarting Mission Impossible. Because obviously it had been...
Well, it's more character driven than the first two.
It is,
It's actually got characters.
Yes, it's 96 for the first one, 99 or 2000 for the second one, and obviously it had a 6-year gap.
Yeah.
And I liked that it was basically reintroducing Ethan Hunt as like a family man, and then kind of breaking that and bringing him back into the world. And actually the third one, the way it finishes... could have easily been like, oh, that's it now. We're kind of finishing. If this didn't do as well as we wanted it to, we can finish the thing there.
So now there's a slightly awkward tipping point here, because how you choose the next one is going to define whether the conversation that we then have subsequently... Okay, so you've done 8, 7, 6 at 5.
Hang on, so we've done 8, 7, 6, which were 2...
which are 2, 1, and 3.
This is going to be like the Fast and Furious franchise.
At 5, but the reason I ask is because the top 4 for me have something in common.
Okay, I think. Also, I would take a guess that the top 4 are all directed by Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah, which means that number 5 is.
No, I don't. This is the first one I
don't
agree on.
Okay, fine. So that's fine. Good.
I think, if I'm being very honest, that the next one for me is The Final Reckoning.
Okay.
But I can understand why you'd put Ghost Protocol next.
Okay.
But I rewatched. Okay. Which one do you want to do? Final Reckoning? Because I've put.
Yeah, we will. So you're absolutely right. I did have Ghost Protocol next. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
Let's do Final Reckoning since it's fresh in everyone's mind.
Yes.
And so can I go
Please,
first quickly?
yes.
Which is the first hour of Final Reckoning is awful. It is just an hour of Basil exposition in which. I don't care about any of this stuff. I think all the Jesus stuff, he's the Messiah, there's a bit in it which reminded me of that episode of Doctor Who in which the Doctor was saved by one of his assistants walking the earth saying his name for the last 2 years or something, and then everyone suddenly went, oh yeah. So that
they have turned Tom Cruise into action movie Jesus.
They have. Very good phrase. Then you get into the submarine. Fantastic.
What? Oh my god!
Just one of
the best ones they've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
My palms were like wet.
Yeah.
It was beyond just sweating. Someone told me afterwards that sequence is like 25 minutes, and I swear it was faster.
Yeah,
because I don't know. I was so gripped the entire time. The concept of time had left my body. We also should point out that we have to be kind of careful with how we speak about this because we know Eddie Hamilton, who edited the movie.
Yeah.
So like, I feel a very weird thing that I've never really had to experience before, which is like, even just as again, I'm using that phrase that I hate using, as a filmmaker, I'm starting to feel more and more.
Not a phrase I can use.
But I'm starting to feel more and more precious actually about how I share my thoughts on movies because I know what it takes to make a movie happen at any level. Okay. Never mind at that level.
Okay.
So with that kind of cleared up.
Yeah. I don't feel precious at all.
I know you don't.
I'm not a filmmaker.
Yes, exactly.
So here's the thing. One thing in terms of the Eddie Hamilton thing,
yes.
Very importantly, people think for some reason, it's an editor's job to make a film shorter. No, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't. The editor doesn't go, I think that section's boring, we'll take it out. The editor goes, this is the section that I have to put together. I'll put it together in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. The decision about whether that section's boring is the director and the producers and the test screenings and all the rest of it. So the fact that the first hour of Dead Reckoning is the most rubbish plot exposition is not
Final Reckoning, not Dead Reckoning.
The Dead Final Reckoning.
Yeah,
Final
that's
Reckoning.
Their fault.
That's their fault. Final Reckoning Part 1. So it's Dead Reckoning Part 1 followed by Final Reckoning Part 1. The fact that that's the case is nothing to do with the editing.
Yes.
The stuff you can say is to do with the editing is that the sequence in the submarine in which they will have shot umpteen different versions of Tom Cruise both in and out of his pants in the coldest water known to mankind, dodging missiles as the whole world he is in is rolling slightly off the edge of an undersea.
Unbelievable.
You go, I'm sorry, I'm just edge of my seat. And then...
Why? I mean, honestly, the question is, why didn't you just start there?
I know. No.
Why didn't you just start with him jumping in the sea?
Yeah, and why didn't the film start with literally Simon Pegg going, it's interesting. This is what we need to do. Okay, fine, go. Do that. Do what he said. That's absolutely fine.
I think that there's my problem with the first hour is that it thinks that everything in the film is the most important thing.
Yes.
And it's kind of got that
Doctor Who thing. It's the Doctor Who thing.
It's more the Michael Bay syndrome, where Michael Bay goes, oh, here's an impressive shot every time. You're making none of the shots impressive because you're basically emphasizing everything.
Yes.
So it feels like nothing is very important.
The whole thing is melodrama.
There's no kind of ebb and flow to it. So I'm watching it and it's the intensity of like how the gravity of every situation, and then when it gets into the actual like the tense moments, I'm actually involved. I care because I know what he's doing right now. I think it's kind of devoid of humor in the first hour or so as well.
Yes, it's
so overly
there is a hair
earnest.
joke. There is a hair joke,
and there's also, how do you feel about the joke at the very, very start, just before the match gets struck and the opening title start, where Tom Cruise, even Ethan Hunt, murders a bunch of people off screen and then comes back on screen covered in blood. Yeah. Because I laughed at that. Yeah. And then when I thought about it, I was like, that's a very weird, dark...
Yeah.
They're kind of going, he's insane. Look at how insane he is.
Yeah, and then Tom Cruise turns and goes,
he goes, well, no, they were going to kill you. I know. Like, he's like justifying it in this very kind of human way.
I didn't have any problem with that. What I had a problem with was the next 59 minutes of just explanation. Anyway, so, submarine sequence, wow.
Unbelievable.
Then there's a little bit of whiffle. Then there's the plane.
Yeah, the biplanes.
And I don't know how long that sequence is, but I was watching it in IMAX, edge of my seat, heart, pulse racing. And this is why I would say that I would put that over Ghost Protocol. Ghost Protocol is a better, more coherent film.
It is.
But those two scenes in Dead Reckoning, and incidentally, we're only doing that because it was two orders. Well, I don't know what your next one is, but those two scenes for me, I'm sorry, because I came out of Mission Impossible. I was wrong about this. I came out of Mission Impossible saying, you know what? By the time you get to the end, no one's going to come out saying that beginning was really boring. And then, of course, everyone came out saying that.
Yeah, with the Final Reckoning, what I felt about it was there is no way I can, if I was going to give things, ranking out of 5 stars, I was like, I don't think I can go lower than 4 stars for it, simply because those sequences are so unbelievably good.
Yes, they're absolutely brilliant.
It's some of the most thrilling action I've ever seen. I do think that another criticism I have of that film, and it must be, oh God, I can't even imagine how it must have been for the last 3 or so years that they've been making this for, and also to have followed, especially Macquarie, 3 other brilliant Mission Impossible films where he's reinvented what you can do each time and made different exciting car chases and motorbike chases and all sorts of different things like that I do feel that in the Final Reckoning he's tired of some of the things he's done, and I think that Final Reckoning is therefore missing another sequence. I think that there's the submarine and there's the biplanes, and then in between that there's some quite forgettable fights, and that's my criticism.
Just love the fact that you're the guy who came out of Final Reckoning went, I think it's missing another sequence.
It is.
Okay.
but if you think about all the other ones, you can kind of name all these different variety of sequences, which we'll get to why I love them so much, because I think that's what you're paying for when you go and see Mission Impossible.
Okay, so can I just check? So you're doing Final Reckoning as 5.
Yes.
And then Ghost Protocol as 4.
Yes, so we've got them switched around.
So fine. But other than that, we're on the same page.
Basically,
so
yes.
what that means is that our top 3 are all Chris McQuarrie's.
Yes, they are.
And in
of
my
course
case,
they are.
in my case, the top 4 are Chris McQuarrie's. Although I do, with all the so. Do you want to do the top 3?
Well, no, let's do Ghost Protocol a bit more.
Okay,
first,
fine. Okay,
because I think I rewatched it recently because and I
so
always
Brad Bird, most famous probably for animation.
Yeah, it was his first live action, I believe. Yeah,
and
have you done the Incredibles?
And rather brilliantly, and I don't say this as a criticism, directs people like he's directing anime because it is one of the most choreographed.
Yes, it is.
It's like the
it's
set pieces.
So light on its feet, isn't it? It's so it's so playful. It feels more like Mission Impossible does Indiana Jones. That's kind of the vibe of it. I'm thinking about the moment when Ethan Hunt has been captured and he's at the side of a window on the building, trying to edge away, and then the villain is on the side at the window smoking a cigarette, going, "Go on then, jump then." And there's a bit of Indiana Jones to that. But you're right, the choreography from the beginning, the entire prison sequence set to "Ain't That a Kick in the Head." It's it's so fun. It's also the one that's known as the Broken Tech film, where all the things they're trying to use aren't quite working. The mask breaks, the phone at the beginning that gives him the mission, he has to slam it down in order for it to actually self-destruct.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
And my kind of criticism of that film for years has been, you do the Burj Khalifa in the middle and then the film kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
And that's still kind of true, because there's an entire elongated sequence in India where all of a sudden it's the role of the femme fatale to seduce this billionaire, and I'm like, why are we watching this? This is so outdated, it's so weird. And then I was like, it ends in a car park. There's a fight in a car park. But actually, to your point of it being so well choreographed, that sequence is a lot better than I remembered and a lot more intense and fun to watch. But it does kind of still lose its way after Dubai. But the
thing is, the Dubai sequence.
Let's just talk about Dubai.
It's just what screen did you see it on? Because I think it might have been the first one that I saw on an IMAX screen.
What, the first Mission?
The first Mission film that I saw on an IMAX.
It was definitely the first Mission Impossible that used IMAX, because it was following. It was the same year actually as the Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, well, there we go.
No, year before Dark Knight Rises.
And I do remember looking at it and going, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, those sort of, what do you call, vertiginous?
Vertiginous. Yeah,
those going over the Burj, but also
I'm terrified of heights anyway.
Yeah, but again, even in that moment, it's so fun to watch, and the score's kind of blaring, and Michael Giacchino did it for this one as well, which is, again, it feels kind of playful. Even in those moments where it's incredibly intense on the Burj, where like he's dropping and everything, it's so unbelievably good. And still you've got moments like, your robe's not long enough. No shit. Like, still very, very funny, like in those moments.
But wasn't that the poster image though?
Yes.
With him on the side.
I mean, the fourth one is basically when they went, okay, it's Tom Cruise doing mental stunts. Films.
Yes.
That's what we're turning these into now.
Are you not entertained?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just, that sequence alone, I mean, I would pay to go and see that in IMAX again just for that sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it, and I remember thinking that just the choreography of this is amazing, and I remember feeling that slightly sick feeling because I'm scared of heights. That's I'm scared of heights. I'm scared of being buried alive. So being buried alive in the air would be my worst thing.
Here's another thing as well. This is what I mean about the lack of sequences in The Final Reckoning. Like, I'm remembering another one from Ghost Protocol when they're breaking into the Kremlin, and then they have that screen that they pop up that follows the guard's eyes and projects the what should be there behind them, so they can move forward very quietly. And then more guards arrive, and it starts to glitch out.
The invisibility shield.
This is what I'm saying. Like, that's such a fun idea, and it's again with Brad Bird like directing that. He's made it so clear without any dialogue what is going on and what the rules are. Yeah. And there's like a really funny joke where Simon Pegg puts his face in front of the camera for a second and it projects his big face onto the hallway. Like, that's what I want for Mission Impossible, is a bunch of those kinds of fun sequences strung together by he's trying to stop a bad guy from doing something. Yeah. And we hope that the villain is as compelling as Philip Seymour Hoffman, but that doesn't often happen.
No.
And
right. I want to get to 3, 2, 1 because then we will go back and talk about it, but I want to get to 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we've been in agreement with the exception of just swapping round 5 and 4.
Hang on. How many? So we've done 2, 1, 3.
And then either Ghost Protocol or Final Reckoning, and then either Final Reckoning or Ghost Protocol. Top 3.
Top 3.
Top 3. Okay. So how do you want to do this? Because
I think we're going to be the same on the next one.
Okay.
And then I think we're going to be in reverse order on the top 2.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
All right.
Right, we're going to cut it there. We're going to stop for part 1.
Okay, so as you could see, that ran for a lot longer than we thought it was going to. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we know how to ramble.
However, you can pick up this discussion in part 2. So part 1 is called...
Yeah, we're going to call it Mission Impossible Part 1.
Part 1.
And then we'll call something else in part... What do you want to call part 2?
Pond of Wood. Mission Impossible Pond of Wood.
Okay.
So, so... Pond of Wood will be dropping very soon. In the meantime, if you want more movie... Listen, I think that name's going to stick. It's better than Quantum of Solace. If you want more movie discussion with me and Simon Mayo, you can get that every week at Kermode and Mayo's Take.